Hey guys, and welcome to another video. As you can probably tell, I filmed this on the same day as the university open days one because I'm really busy this week. I assume I'm going to be really busy this week. And so I know I probably won't have time to film, so I'm filming in advance. I hope that's alright. And so this video has been highly requested by lots of people, and it will be a video all about what to mention in a medicine personal statement. Now I do want to say, little disclaimer, this isn't how to make the most incredible, amazing personal statement in the world, because as you probably know, personal statements are pretty subjective. It's quite hard to know what is a really good one and what makes a really good one. So these are just kind of a couple of good points which I put into my personal statement to make like a good, solid personal statement, I say. And so yeah, I hope this helps some of you guys out. Firstly, what I do want to say is if you are applying for medicine, please do not forget how important a personal statement is. I know lots of people seem to think, oh, when you have your UK CAT and your GCSEs and your predicted grades, does it really matter? In fact, it does. It really does matter. We had someone from Leicester University come into our school and they said how, yes, you know, when they first look at an applicant, they will look at your stats, meaning your GCSEs and your UK CAT and your predicted grades. But however, in a kind of likely scenario where you have the same stats as someone else, then they will purely look at your personal statement, which is probably even more important because it's getting directly compared with someone else's. And so that means it needs to just be really quite good then. So please do not kind of just be like, oh, whatever, I've got to focus on this and this and this. It's kind of tricky, you just got to focus on all of it, which means summer of year 12 is not the best summer in the world just because there's a fair bit to be focusing on, so please do spend a bit of time on it. Another thing I do want to say is I will not be giving out my personal statement for a number of reasons. I suppose first of all, it's personal for a reason. You know, your personal statement needs to be about you, why you want to do your course, you know, your reasons, things like that. So kind of giving mine won't be a great deal of help. I suppose another thing is if anyone decides to kind of steal some bits, first of all, plagiarism is a massive no-no. In terms of the UCAS, they have a checker, so if they feel that anything is, you know, taken from someone else's, I'm pretty sure your application just gets cut like that. And I suppose the final point, like loads and loads of other people, I spent ages on my personal statement, so I kind of just don't, you know, I spent ages on it. You need to work hard as well, and I'm sure you will. And that's another thing, in terms of the time spent on it, please do not get too frustrated. I know I did so many drafts. I did draft after draft after draft. If you look at my first draft and my final edition, big difference. So please do not feel like, you know, you're getting nowhere and it just doesn't seem right, because it takes time. It takes a lot of tweaking. And so that's why it kind of helps to start early, because rather than like cramming and doing a perhaps not your best one, at least with a long time, you can kind of keep going at it and hopefully get to something which you think is your final one at the end. So a couple of things in terms of no-nos. First of all, please do not list. I know lots of people do it. I'm pretty sure I probably did in my first draft. For example, the hobbies and things you do, don't be like, I do this on a Monday and this on a Tuesday. After school on a Friday I do this, and Saturdays I do this. Like, great, cool. But another point, second point, you need to be concise in everything you say. Do not be overly wordy. I'm sure you know there's a word limit. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. Perhaps 1,000, perhaps 2,000 words. I think 4,000 characters, I think. Do not hold me on that. But yeah, you just need to be really concise. You have that word limit for a reason. Please just get your best bits. Do not just give any old kind of stuff. And that comes with your hobbies as well. Choose them specifically. Choose the key moments specifically. And use ones that best link to your course. So for example, with medicine, you know, choose something that is, you can easily be like, oh, well, that includes teamwork, which is what is needed in medicine, or that includes determination, which is needed for studying medicine, you know, things like that. You want to be looking at what fits it the best and what links it the best, and what skills as well. That's really important. You're not just listing, you're saying something and you're linking it to say how those skills will help you study and, you know, kind of be in medicine. That kind of thing is really important. Another thing as well, if you can link it, I found this really hard to do, but if you're someone who can, try linking your points. It just makes it nicer to read. It's not a definite it has to be there, but it's just nicer to have. Another thing, try not to brag too much, which is, it's hard because you want to seem confident in yourself and being like, look, you need to choose me because I'm the best person and all this. But at the same time, you want to be slightly humble in something like medicine. You know, it's a course where, you know, you're not someone who's like, I'm the best in everything. You want to be someone who's like, I can appreciate my work and appreciate others kind of vibe. Very hard to strike a balance. Try your best to. And on that point, try not to come across as too pretentious. Try not to be like, oh my god, this is a different kind of personal statement. It's so alternative. It's so this, like just sit down kind of thing. Like, so many people are applying. I don't know, it's hard because I know for me, I went to the approach of I want to give a standard, good personal statement. I know some people want to try and be different. Sometimes that works and it really works and it's great. Sometimes it doesn't work and it kind of results in rejections, which isn't so great. So I played it safe. I went with what I thought was like a good standard approach, you know, ticks all the boxes, nothing overly special about it, because I was worried it would get rejected because it just didn't work kind of thing, which I know is confusing. I'm sure some of you are a bit confused, like, what do you mean? I'm sure if you go onto Oxford and their website for medicine, there are some personal statements on there which are different and it works. If you want to be different and hopefully it works, brilliant. But the risk of being different is sometimes it might not work. So just kind of play it safe and don't be too like asking loads of rhetorical questions and things like that. It just sometimes doesn't work. So I would recommend to play it safe, and I did. Another thing as well, in terms of your intro and your final sentence, leave it for later. That's what I did and what loads of people recommended to do, because with your intro it's so hard. Like, how do you start something? I find it's almost easier to write it down. Then your intro can kind of be like, you know what you're going to be talking about, you know what it involves and it includes, so then you can start it off nicer, and that's just, it's a bit easier that way. So leave that first bit and second bit for later, I'd say. In terms of the rest of the structure, first paragraph, how I did it is I spoke about kind of my evidence, my things that I had, things that had made me decide to choose medicine in the end. That can include lectures, books, talks, courses. I spoke about a STEM course, I spoke about my, King's College lectures, I spoke about the book I read, I spoke, all of those kinds of things, once again linking it back to medicine. What did you get from that book? What did you like? What do you get from the course? What did that lead you to do next? One thing that loads of teachers recommend is trying to get linking, trying to be like, I went on this course and enjoyed this aspect, which made me to then go on to read this book, which then made me like, that's really great if you can do that. Personally, I couldn't do it because there wasn't a great amount of linking in how I worked. It was very much just, oh, I did this, and oh, I want to know more about medicine, so I did this, that kind of stuff, as opposed to kind of specific linking. If you can do it, great. If not, don't worry. But just generally for that whole bit, you want to make sure you're linking it back to medicine. What did you get from that? Reflecting is a massive bit about your personal statement. What is it that you learned from it? And you can say, what you didn't like so much from it, but try to kind of focus on the positives. But it's very good to just see like a general realistic approach to it. And yeah, that's really kind of what the first paragraph is usually about. In terms of your second one, probably your most important one, all about your work experience. Some people even say to put work experience first. It's up to you. I put it second. And this is probably, like I said, the most important bit, because universities focus on this so much. Pretty much every single university out there ranks work experience as the most important thing that they're looking for, apart from like grades and all the other stats, because it shows that you have had that experience in a real, health setting. And so I managed to get, my 3 sets of work experience. Great, brilliant. If you can't get work experience, do not worry. What a lot of universities are saying is they understand it's competitive and difficult. So the alternative is getting some sort of experience in a different kind of setting, but it's still to do with healthcare. For example, volunteering at a nursing home. Many universities will kind of take that as the equivalent, as long as you can still reflect on it, say what you learn, perhaps bits that you didn't like, but you understand that that's what expected. You can still be, just as suitable as a candidate who has had months of experience. But if you can, try and get that work experience. Hopefully, you guys are sat there being like, oh, I've done my week, or I've got something in the summer planned. like I said, if you don't, try and get that nursing home experience. Otherwise you're kind of at a bit of a tricky position, because it's something that universities see as kind of crucial right now. So try and get that experience. And I've done videos on how to get work experience, so please check that out if you can't get any. So that's very much what your second paragraph is about. What you saw, what you gained from it. Once again, make sure you are being very professional in how you talk about it. For example, with patients, please do not be like, 65-year-old miss blah 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 blah. No, you want to make sure you're respecting that patient privacy from day one, and so just refer to them as the patient. Be sensitive about any of the issues that you saw, things like that. Just be very respectful. Like I said, it's very much being like, I managed to see this, this and this. This helped me realise that this. For example, did you see a discussion with the different, people from different disciplines? Did you see the way they spoke to patients? Did you see the kind of way they respected the privacy? Things like that. Really important, talk about it. And that's what I found kind of the bulk of my personal statement was, that one and the second paragraph. And then the final paragraph is all about your hobbies. Linking back to my earlier point, be concise. Make sure you're choosing the ones which you find are the most important. How I did this is I kind of listed out things that I saw as extracurricular activities, listed it all out, then put the ones which are most relevant to medicine, making sure that you realise, you have that word count. Please do not just be like splurging it out. This isn't necessarily your most important one. For most unis, this is like a basic one. I know for Bristol, this is something that they really look at. I think there are some other unis as well, maybe Exeter, which really look at your personal statement. For others, this is just seen as like standard, doesn't need to be too much. But yeah, like I said, you just want to be specific with it. You want to make sure you're linking it back to medicine. Why is it so important? Does it show you're determined? Does it show your teamwork? Things like that. And then finally, like I said, with that final sentence, that can be quite tricky. What I did is kind of just sum it up, being like, as you can see, I'm this kind of student. I'm going to be someone who's driven, someone who's motivated to do this. I'm someone who's caring. End it on a high note. End it on, I hope you choose me. Something, it's quite tricky to end it. Hopefully you find a sentence that works for you. And then finally, once you've kind of finished a draft or a couple of drafts, maybe give it to people to read. Good people to give it to read. Maybe there's someone at school who deals with all that kind of like UCAS side of things. Ask them to read it. Perhaps a science teacher, they can tell you if anything is, technically wrong in terms of the science of it. Maybe even an English teacher or a friend who does English Lit or English Lang, because they can give you kind of like, does it flow well? Is the grammar right? And obviously those kind of simple, kind of basic things are things you want to be okay with. And so yeah, that's how it is. Try not to give it to too many people to read, because often, once again, subjective. Some people are going to say this, this and this, and then in the end you're kind of be changing it so much, and it just becomes a bit of a mess. So give it to a couple of people and take on board their criticism and tweak what you feel is needed. And hopefully it comes out how you want it to be. Like I said in the beginning, it's a difficult process. It took loads and loads of drafts, many hours up at night looking at it. But yeah, that's just how it is. Hopefully you do get to that finished draft and you're satisfied and happy with it. For now, in terms of its June, what I would say is just list things that you would talk about in a personal statement. If you want to a first draft, it would be nice to end summer term with a whole draft. That would be a really great place to be in, because you really don't want to be coming into September starting it, because that's a pretty tricky situation to be in. So yeah, that is everything. If you have any other questions, let me know, comment down below, ask me on my social media. My Twitter's @_ManishaP, and my Instagram's @_ManishaP, and I'm sure I will answer any of your questions. And yeah, that is pretty much everything. I hope it goes well. For any of you doing your ASs, best of luck, and GCSEs as well, best of luck. And I shall see you sometime soon. Bye!